So welcome back to this week's Gear Change episode of the Drivetime podcast, the fast-moving world of automotive innovation that we cover on our podcast. We also have a Gear Change episode, which kind of gets more into the informal part of our episode with our guests. So in the episode that we always do, like in our in-betweeny weeks, we record a bit of extra content, which allows us to delve into things like myth busting, any key actions you can take as a result of the main episode. So Jon Clay, thanks for staying with us for this episode.
Thanks, Jackie.
So in this week's episode, what we wanted to do was start to talk about the myths surrounding data, what gets in the way of people maybe learning more about it, and then also how we can start to unlock the power of tech and how we start to unlock the power of those agentic capabilities that we're building. So just thinking about data as a topic, which is your big thing and you're building your MBA around it. What do you think are the big myths that get in the way of people maybe using data in a more proactive way?
A lot of people just seem to be scared about it or thinking, I don't know data. Data is something for someone who's a data scientist and I don't know what that means, so I'm just going to ignore it. But it's really not. It's an aid to help you make sensible decisions. And you don't need to be a maths expert to actually interpret data. You just need to understand your domain, to understand what it is you do in your job, what is it you need to achieve, and then have basic understandings of how to read the information that's presented to you. So for some people that comes naturally, for some it doesn't. And so that's something which we call data literacy, to help people to actually understand how to interpret data. And that can be a good thing for companies to invest in, actually, if people aren't comfortable with it. And there's a few different organizations out there that can actually help with that type of activity to help people to understand how to interpret data more comfortably, how to look at the right graphs in the right way, how to understand what certain metrics mean, and how to then drive improvements in your business. But what I'd say really importantly as well, data is not something solely for the CFO and so for the finance team. It's really important in all areas of the business, because if you don't measure something, you can't improve it. If you're just doing a process blind, then it's not optimized.
I think it's about understanding enough to say, does that work well? We did this and what happened? So simplifying it is we did this and then these things happened. So that we did this is like your data. So we're kind of collecting information about consumers or customers or stock or how it's performing, and then just looking at it and then making decisions based on it. And the tools that are now being developed means that you don't have to even know how to manipulate a spreadsheet. You can just ask it a question and the AI or the agentic tools will start to query it almost for you, or even tell you before you've even asked it a question what's working well. So I think that's probably some of the stuff that we're seeing being built and developed and deployed now, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. And the other thing I would say as well is, for some people, even if they are at a level, and some people are at this level in a business, they're not actually looking at the data. And maybe they don't, because they're much more front-facing doing a particular task they're doing. It's still important people actually appreciate what they're doing, because still, and it will be the case in many cases, the way data is initially collated is manually input. And we can develop systems to reduce free text, and we all need to do that. We shouldn't have free text fields wherever it can be avoided. But the people entering data, when that's something that it should be automated if it can. If it can't be automated, they need to be conscious to do it right, because that fundamentally powers everything else that happens afterwards. And previously in my prior role, I've seen classic example in the UK market where this causes no end of problems, and it's in dealerships. When new vehicles are registered, you have to register certain codes with both the DVLA and also with the Society of Motor Manufacturers. So you have to select the right SMMT, we call the MIVRIS code. Now, these are done for different reasons, but these two codes in the industry are what are linked together by all providers to allow vehicle details to be provided later in life about the provenance of that vehicle. So what that basically means, if someone does these wrong up front, which happens a lot, when someone part exchanges the vehicle in the future and you put in the registration plate of that vehicle to look up the details of the car to understand if it's had a total loss, what's the valuation of that vehicle, what's the spec, all of these things, that's been done wrong at the outset. The data you get back's wrong. But actually, in many of these cases, what I've seen are the same vehicles going back into the same places or the same networks where they made the mistake in the first place. So it's right to get it right from the outset.
So why isn't that just literally populate both systems with the same number? in the first place. How is that? Is it just because it's manual? Someone's done it manual, they've got a digit wrong, as most people do, because we just, we're human and we make mistakes.
They're separate systems. That's where for automotive, we talk AI, but it's still going to take a long time to sort all of it out because there's so many. The industry's been around for so long and it's had data sets driving the industry for a lot longer than many other industries and many different systems. In every country, they have their own different systems which operate in isolation.
Yeah.
They're not linked, right? So we can use AI to help to improve that going forwards. Industries can, but you've still got all of these separate systems kicking around. And that's fundamentally what it is in the UK market, is two separate systems.
In my experience, John, often you go into dealerships and people feel, you mentioned about data literacy. I think there is a perception that because a lot of the people that we work with are experts in automotive, maybe not experts in tech, there's almost like, I don't want to ask because I'll look a bit silly if I ask about this technology because I don't really understand it well enough. And I think that's something we probably as an industry have to just step over it. And it's okay to ask the stupid question because tech is evolving so quickly. The likelihood is that you won't know the answer or what it can do. So how can we help retailers find or feel more confident with systems, tech, evolution, what's going on? What can we kind of point them towards in some of those areas?
For me, the biggest one is actually if people do just have a go at using the right agents. So the right AI agents, assistants that can be developed, because these help with so much of that.
Yeah.
You could go online now, you could use Claude or ChatGPT, you'll probably get an answer that's pretty much spot on.
Yeah.
If you have a term that you're not familiar with, stick it in the agent, ask it. It will come back with the answer. Now, what we can do and what we'll see in automotive more and more, our agents have just been prompted a few times and tailored to do this out of the box much more easily for you. So you don't have to build up your own networks of queries to do that. And the responses have been improved. But even without that, you'll find the responses you get are very, very good.
Yeah.
And I've personally been doing this myself in Keyloop since I joined. There's so many analogies we use in our business, which I had no idea what they were, but I'd throw them in and I'd get back the answer. And so that's exactly what salespeople can do in dealerships. They can help them to understand what something is being spoken about. And then if you're still not clear on the answer, you can ask it again to tell you in a different way that you understand.
It was like this, so like the release notes that we put out with every single piece of tech release. We have so many releases going out every week. It's how do we make that knowledge accessible? And I think that's something that if you build up your backlog of insight and information, you're right though, those kind of acronyms are all different. And you almost need some kind of, it's a whole new language when you come into this space. And every OEM has a different, like we talk about nomenclature, but they all have a different, it could all be an after sales integration, but every single OEM has called it something different. It does the same thing.
It does. Like if you looked at a manufacturer list now and you look at how many different names there are for a headlight, you'd think they're all different. The underlying tech in most of them will be very similar.
It's a headlight or it's an integration or that data connects these two things. So these APIs do that job. I think that also is something where, as an industry, wouldn't it be great if an after-sales integration was called the same the world over? So you know what it is, and it makes it easier for you to find it. So we talked in the last episode about standardization of technology, standardization of processes, so that we can just go faster with a lot of this stuff. I think that would be, in the next sort of 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, as AI starts to really accelerate the capabilities, that should be something we can start to see, hopefully impacting the way that we can standardize deployment of certain functionality. That would be a really exciting thing to do to make the lives of our customers a lot easier, so they can actually not have to manually input a code into many places, but you standardize the way it's captured. So that's really helpful. So just thinking about your life then, John, I know we talked about your MBA, and you've been doing an awful lot of myth busting around sort of data, but what do you think have been the biggest things that you've learned by doing your MBA and interviewing all the people that you've interviewed? So any myth busting that you've kind of come across in that rather small project?
First one, I think, is that data product success is around the data itself. The bigger thing is fundamentally on the use case you've identified to fix with the customer.
Okay.
And then how you nurture that customer relationship throughout its lifetime. Otherwise, what you do is you'll say, I've got data here and I've seen this. Last year, I think it was last November, I presented to a group of small business investors who worked in the media industry down in London at St. Catherine's Dock on this topic, how you built a new data product from scratch. And all of these people in this room were talking about, I've got data, how do I monetize it? I'm trying to sell this data. It's worth loads. Well, why is it worth loads? We kept going back to the point.
To who?
What is it you think
Yeah.
you've got? And I did break a few people's hearts there, because when they said it, I said, well, you've all got the same data, so that data's commoditized. So if you're pushing that, you're just going to be pushing each other's price down. You need to have differentiating factors. That comes from understanding the use case and understanding how you differentiate it, because it might not be the data per se that delivers the value. It might be how you actually serve that to customers, how you integrate that into their workflows, how easy you make it to consume, or how you link it with other data sets to make it something that's quite unique.
Yeah.
So it's really understanding the customer needs is, I think, the big fundamental thing which comes through strongly, and then nurturing them throughout their lifetime.
Okay, so start with the problem, not the data. Don't you think I've got some data, I want to make some money on it? Which is like bubble burst. We've all got the same data. So yeah, start with the problem first and then build out, I suppose, how you make it. I think it's solving a customer problem. That's the value, isn't it? So what problem are you solving? And then that's the value that you're going to derive from it. Okay, good advice. So what for you then? What's a tech tool you can't live without? We've talked a lot about using agents, but what do you kind of rely on in your work, either as a product director or as a parent?
So for me, it's Claude.
Okay.
I use Claude loads.
Okay. So I kind of had this belief that Claude was more for coders, or is it a better version of ChatGPT? Just explain to me the difference.
I've personally just found it's been a better version.
Okay.
And I think it depends, everyone will have their own view, and it depends slightly, and they change and evolve so quick. It might be different from one day to the next. But I find Claude's very easy to use. I used it quite a bit for my MBA to help to even build an app. I can't code. I tried coding once, had no interest in it whatsoever. So, but I did an app to help me actually run some quite complex analysis and to fast track what I was doing, which manually would have taken me probably a week to do on the evenings. And I built this app and run the analysis within 40 minutes, just from a few prompts, and accidentally got Claude to debug itself as well. So it's really easy to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I really can't code, so I've got no knowledge.
I certainly can't code.
So I find it great for that. But I also just use it for when I'm trying to look for holiday destinations, right? And where can I go? So there's some places we'd really enjoy going on holiday. And I've been trawling the net, find similar kind of places in different countries. And I thought, let's just use it for that. Throw it in, throws up a load of good answers. Some are garbage, but the vast majority weren't actually. And we're going on holiday to one next year. We'll go to Portugal.
Oh, nice.
So it's really useful for just a variety of different things. I just find it very, very helpful for lots. And a big thing, which I'd say as well for all industries, they're also really great if you want to understand what's going on in the industry and you want to understand what's happening with your competitors, what are the macro factors impacting the industry. Really good for that whole kind of strategy analysis type activities, which now that's straight out the box. They're very, very good at that, getting you 80-90% of the way there.
Yeah. That is really, really useful. So I did on your holiday destination thing when we were away, we did a little road trip through Europe and we were in Switzerland for 3 days and we had a lot of kids with us. So between me and my partner were six kids, 6 teenagers. And I asked it to build an itinerary for us that was like budget friendly. If we were eating out or where to go or where to start on walks, how to see certain waterfalls. I asked it to give me 3 words of where the starting points were. So it could give me exactly, it would like say, and it would ask you, do you want me to package this up so you can put it in your group chat? Yes, please. So it's just like a one pager. It was fantastic. So I will try Claude though, because I think Claude would be, just for this, actually part of researching guests and content is quite a useful. I do use AI a lot to do that, to find out who's doing certain things. So, okay, brilliant. Thanks, Jon. That's fantastic. So for you then, AI notwithstanding, but what do you think is the most exciting innovation that you can see coming in the next 5 years?
For me, I think it's just a lot of the tech we have here now just working better. I think, and wearable tech probably will start taking off a bit better. I think it's been kicking along for a while. I've smashed my Apple Watch, so I'm struggling without that now.
No.
But I think even beyond that, we'll start reaching the point where there'll be other tech, probably fashion tech. Like, why not just have a chip in an earring or the ring? That type of stuff will probably take off a lot more as well and help to drive forwards more things. But I think we'll just see all of this data that's being there just working smoother together. We won't need to have as many separate apps on our phones and stuff that you need to remember to go and check, because it will just work.
I've deleted quite a lot on my phone actually now. So I used to have gaming stuff on my phone, but I've just deleted so much stuff. And I think the biggest time thief for me is probably Instagram and Facebook. Social media is just, and I think we're seeing your kids are younger, but I kind of held off with my kids for quite a long time, giving them smartphones. So they didn't have a mobile phone until they went to senior school. We still have no devices at the table at dinner time. They don't have TVs in their bedrooms until they're through their GCSEs, because actually I wanted to have time with my kids. So I think the wearables thing is interesting, but it is tracking our every moment. You can get a ring now, can't you? There's like I think it's called a Euro or an Eros or whatever. I've forgotten what it's called, but I've seen people wearing this chunky wearable ring, which just the battery lasts longer than a watch, but it's not going to tell you when your emails have come through. Probably a good thing though, because it just buzzes all the time when you get signal and you get inundated with stuff. So yeah, that is really interesting. So
yeah, for me as a parent, I think the tech which I'm most excited about, and you're seeing a lot more of it come out now, is the unconnected tech. So tech that actually allows kids to learn how to use tech, such as phones, taking them back to what I grew up with in some ways, but looking a little bit cooler, but aren't connected to the internet.
We were saying, we had a conversation actually at dinner the other night, that our generation was probably the best generation because we had the right to roam. We were free to just be kids, and we were saying if you had to ring someone, you had to know their number and phone them up. You had to go through a phone book and find them. You couldn't just look at them on Instagram, and then, there was a lot less. Yeah, you had to work a lot harder, I think, then to connect. But we were more connected, I think, because we actually saw people, humans, face to face, which is great. So one of the questions that we ask every guest on the Gear Change episode is, what's your dream road trip destination? If you're going to go anywhere, what would it be, or trip?
So I'd say it probably has to be to my most favourite place in the world, which is much closer to home you might think. I just love Denmark.
Oh, really? I've never been.
I love it.
I've never been there.
I love Scandinavia.
Yeah.
I'd just go back there, drive across Europe, drive up to Scandinavia, but then get to go around all of it. So start in Denmark, but go all the way up through Norway, Finland, go all the way around and come back down.
We have teams there. You need to go spend time with them.
I do. I was over in Denmark quite recently.
There's a reason you can go there.
Well, I actually have one team member who's based 2.5 hours north of Lapland.
My boys really want to go. I mean, they're 8. My youngest one's 18 now, and he's like, Mum, can we go to Lapland? It's really cheap. So I'm like, I know we have teams that have properties up there because they have second homes and stuff. So they do have an incredible, time. So yeah, that's that they want to go there. So you've been there? You've been up to Scandinavia?
I've been dotted around. I've not been to Norway yet. I will be in Finland soon. I've not been there yet.
Yeah.
But it was my 40th this year. I went to Iceland.
Nice.
So actually, even just doing a road trip around Iceland would be epic because we didn't get all the way around it. So maybe I'll divert just to that one. Yeah.
Do that bit. So when you're on you're traveling around, let's say you've started in Denmark and you're traveling up into Scandinavia, what's your sort of road trip song or band? We talked about this. It was it's big pressure. You know what you're going to listen to.
I have a very eclectic music taste. So I've been thinking about that one a while. But I think for me, there's only one actually. When I started writing it all back down, it would have to come to a Foo Fighters song and be The Pretender.
Okay,
a
nice.
song that's loud, you can shout to. I lost my voice to seeing them live last year, I think it was. I couldn't talk for a couple of days after.
Nice.
I wasn't much far off that when I saw Oasis this year, but
you got the tickets, did you?
I did. Yeah.
Where did you see them?
Eaton Park.
Nice. Excellent. Okay. And then where did you see the Foo Fighters? I haven't seen them, but they're on my list.
Many different places. That was in Manchester at Old Trafford, actually, the last time.
Nice.
So yeah, I've seen them many different places.
So the track, say again? Foo Fighters?
The Pretender.
The Pretender. Okay, we'll add it to if you haven't already noticed, there is a Drivetime podcast playlist that we're building up on Spotify. I need to do it on Apple as well, actually. We can get the playlist in wherever you get playlists. So we can build it. Every single guest now has got a song on there, so it's good. It's been really good fun building that out. So just as we're going to wrap up the episode, Jon, thank you so much for that. Are there any practical tips, any other resources we could send listeners to kind of keep themselves on top of tech and what's going on, around AI or around data?
So for me, I do two different things. And the main one is I talk to people. I talk to colleagues. I talk to people in the network, in other competitors sometimes, right? In other tech companies.
Yeah.
In other, in retailers, talk to people working in other dealerships. You just understand what people are talking about, what they're hearing about. And then that gives you a lead that you can go and follow up on. And before you know, you discover something that's really interesting. I think it's too easy for us to think, we just need to listen to this podcast or read this article to give me all the insights. We only have so much time. And sometimes the best things are just from talking to someone.
So I think I heard on a podcast, it was somebody that was talking about how you could use AI to explain to you. And they use the term explain it as if I'm a smart 10-year-old. So it almost like gives you and then you can ask it to give you more detail. So we talked about using AI to build up your knowledge is one way of doing it. Also talking to other people, don't be afraid to ask the stupid question. I think actually so many people are so grateful when somebody else asks a stupid question because we're all thinking it. So ask the question because you'll know an answer.
Yeah, I'd say I ask the questions, you get it. I do use AI a lot. So I'd use Claude to prompt it for ideas to make me think, well, am I missing something? And if you hear one thing, ask it, what else is like this, right? Or is there anything else I've not thought about which I should be considering? And it will give you back some good ideas, which you can then go off and you can research individually if you want. You can ask the AI more, you can go and research it yourself in other ways. For events, I'd say as well, don't just think automotive.
100%.
Look outside, go something totally different, and you'll pick up things that you can bring back into the industry.
There's loads. You can actually search things like Eventbrite for events that are in your area that are doing certain things. There's some really good stuff on LinkedIn as well. I think it's quite useful. So there's a lot of useful sources. But I think building up, you can actually build up your knowledge on an AI agent, and it keeps all of the history for you. So it can search your own history of stuff that you've learned as well, which is great. So you're building up your own knowledge bank in that space, and it's yours. It's got your login. So I think that's quite a useful source. But Jon, thank you so much. So I'm going to be thinking about, plan an itinerary using an AI agent around Scandinavia and build your playlist. So Jon Clay, thank you very much again for joining us on this week's Gear Change episode of the Drivetime podcast. It's been a real pleasure spending time with you.
Thanks for having me, Jackie. It's been good fun.